Have you ever felt the rush of adrenaline, the heart-pounding excitement that comes from pushing your limits? Now imagine taking that to the extreme, speeding through the sky at over 120 miles per hour, racing towards Earth with just a wingsuit keeping you alive. It's the kind of stunt that only a few dare to attempt, and fewer still survive. But one man, Jeb Corliss, has made a career out of defying the odds. He has taken risks that many would consider impossible and dangerous. But in 2012, Jeb attempted something that would almost cost him everything: his life, his career, and his sanity. This is the story of how Jeb Corliss' shocking dive record attempt almost killed him and how it changed his life forever. Who is Jeb Corliss? Before we get into the heart of the story, let's take a step back and understand who Jeb Corliss is. To those in the world of extreme records, he's a legend. But for those outside of that world, his name may not ring a bell. Jeb Corliss is an American skydiver, base jumper, and wingsuit pilot known for performing some of the most daring stunts in the history of extreme sports. Born in 1976, Jeb's fascination with flying and gravity-defying activities began at a young age. By the time he was 16, he had already become captivated by the world of skydiving, which eventually led him to the adrenaline-fueled world of base jumping. For Jeb, it wasn't just about the thrill. It was about challenging the human limits of what was thought possible. Jeb Corliss earned his reputation as a fearless extreme sports icon by pushing boundaries. He set numerous records, base jumping from iconic landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and Christ the Redeemer statue. His most famous feat, flying through the narrow door of a Swiss Alps gorge in a wingsuit, captivated millions. These legendary stunts redefined human capability, defying comprehension for many. However, behind the daredevil stunts and achievements, Jeb's life hasn't been without its fair share of challenges. The truth is, the man we know as a sports icon has spent much of his life wrestling with doubts, overcoming fear, and fighting to prove to himself that he can push the limits further than anyone else. Despite the fame, many still don't realize that Jeb struggled with the dark side of his sport. The constant pressure to perform, to set new records, and to rise above the competition all weighed heavily on his mind. His early years were filled with failure and disappointment, early jumps that didn't go as planned, the reality of broken bones, and even losing friends along the way. Jeb Corliss has lost people close to him in tragic accidents that resulted from the very risks he lives with every single day. But it was his love for pushing boundaries, his need to prove to himself that he could conquer not only his fears, but the entire world of extreme sports that kept him going. The shocking dive attempt. Now that we know who Jeb Corliss is, let's fast forward to 2012, the year he made a fateful attempt to break a world record that would almost cost him his life. The stage was set in the Swiss Alps, in an area that's become synonymous with the dangerous world of wingsuit diving. Jeb's goal was simple. He wanted to break the record for the longest wingsuit flight, a daring attempt to soar through the air for longer than anyone before him. The record stood at just over 4 minutes, and Jeb had a plan to beat it. But things didn't go as expected. On the day of the dive, Jeb had everything in place. The weather was ideal, the equipment was perfect, and he was prepared. He was determined, as he always had been, to make history. After a successful jump, Jeb was in freefall, descending at a mind-boggling speed of 120 miles per hour. But then, disaster struck. As Jeb entered the final part of the dive, he encountered an unexpected and dangerous wind shear. In an instant, the forces that were keeping him in control suddenly shifted. His wingsuit, which was designed to help him glide, began to malfunction. Jeb started to spiral out of control. Jeb's descent turned into a terrifying plunge. Facing imminent death, he deployed his parachute at the last second, surviving the violent crash but suffering severe injuries. The physical pain was immense, but the mental scars ran deeper. He glimpsed the abyss, realizing how close he came to losing everything. The experience profoundly impacted him. Jeb learned a crucial lesson. Skill is never enough. Unpredictable risks exist. capable of shattering even the most seasoned professional. This near-fatal incident redefined his perspective on his career and future. The aftermath. After the crash, Jeb's life entered a phase of reflection. He had survived, but the journey back from the brink of death was a painful one. His body needed months to heal from the broken bones, but the mental and emotional scars would take far longer. "I was lucky," Jeb said in interviews after the accident. "I should have died that day, and I don't take that lightly." Jeb had become aware of the fragility of life, something he had taken for granted in his earlier years of extreme sports. The near-death experience forced him to ask himself deeper questions about what he wanted from life. Was the record worth it? Was the thrill of the jump worth the risk? And how much longer could he keep pushing himself to the absolute edge? The aftermath wasn't just about physical recovery. Jeb had to rebuild his confidence. He had to come to terms with the idea that there were limits even for someone as skilled as he was. It was a humbling moment, one that didn't just affect his career, but his relationship with his fans, his family, and even himself. But true to Jeb's character, he didn't give up. After months of rehabilitation and emotional healing, Jeb returned to his sport. He began to focus more on safety and the psychological aspects of flying. He knew that if he were going to continue, it wouldn't be about breaking records or performing death-defying stunts anymore. It would be about finding balance. And while the record-breaking dives were still part of his life, they were no longer the sole driving force. In the years since the crash, Jeb has spoken out about the dangers of sports and the importance of mental health. He's become an advocate for those who push the limits, urging them to take the time to evaluate the cost of their passion. And while he hasn't hung up his wingsuit, Jeb has taken a more thoughtful approach to the sport. So what's next for Jeb Corliss? Will he continue to chase new records, or has his perspective shifted forever? One thing's for sure, Jeb's journey is far from over. After surviving the crash that almost killed him, he now approaches each dive with a new respect for life and for the risks that come with it. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride through Jeb Corliss' life and one of the most shocking stunts in sports history. If you're inspired by Jeb's journey and want to hear more about the world of extreme records, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep pushing the boundaries.